Welcome aboard my new Yar-Craft 219 TFX. This is what I'm running for 2022. This is a great model, had some great improvements made to it, and I want to show you them. So we're going to start here on the front of the boat. Oh, and Jamie gave me a 15-minute limit to get this through. She said, don't make it any longer. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to talk fast, but I'm going to show you a lot of cool stuff. So let's look at this front part of the boat because this is where I like to do the majority of my business. All right, so we're looking at, this year I went with the 60-inch Ultrex. People ask me all the time, you know, if that's enough for this boat. And the short answer is yes, the 60 works good. If there was ever a manufacturer that kind of splits the difference and works, you know, something in between a 60 and a 72, that would be absolutely perfect. But so far, this is working really good. One of the coolest things about what Yar-Craft and Basscat does when they design a boat is they start with the trolling motor placement. If you'll notice here, this is really coming off the center line of the boat, not off to the side, which eliminates somewhat of a crabbing effect that you might experience if your trolling motor isn't dead on the center line. It's also perpendicular to the water line, so it gives the operator the most efficient pull possible and really let your trolling motor work the best for your boat and just gives you the best maneuverability overall. So that's the trolling motor in a nutshell. Just off center to the right, you see my two 12-inch Lowrances that I have here, one dedicated for active target, one for anything else that I want to use it for. I do like having it off center a little bit because as I find myself standing here with my left foot on the pedal here, this puts my graphs kind of right in line with the center line of my body, and alignment is so key with forward-facing strategies for so many different times now. And so when you're making your casts and you're feeling like the trolling motor, your graphs and your body and your foot and everything is strictly in line, everything just flows so much better. So no matter what boat you have, keep that as a consideration if you're trying to upgrade possibly your electronics. This has been where I've put them here, and Yar-Craft makes it very easy because I have two elevated platforms. One is an aluminum cover plate here that gives you access to the front of the boat, and the other one is just a front step where you would normally access the bow from the outside of the boat. The best thing about it though is I don't have to use any aftermarket mounts to make this system work. I can just basically bolt them right to the boat. It's as secure and stout connection as you can possibly get. Low profile, out of the way for a boat cover. Everything works really good. So this is how I kind of really like my setup right now. One thing that I really appreciate on here with this recessed foot pedal tray, it's a very big recessed foot pedal tray that gives me some extra mounting options for, I don't know, tool holder here if I want. I've got a little silicone, this is a groove silicone hook holder here that I like to put some of my go-tos on. You'll notice, you probably saw some red blinking lights right here. That's actually a lightning indicator that Basscat and Yar-Craft are putting in some of their premium models now. So that does give you a heads up if it detects lightning from 10 miles away or less, I believe. And that's kind of a handy thing to have. I do have a quick check voltage status indicator right here. You'll notice that it's reading 40.6 right now. That's because I am going with 3 Group 31 lithium batteries for this year. And because of my lack of a kicker, having that extra battery power still allows me to hit that around 2-mile-an-hour mark if I was going to be trolling all day without, you know, and still be able to have my battery set working for me all day long. I went with twin power poles this year, and I do have my power pole controls right here. I'm going to do a separate video since Jamie gave me my time limit on why I really like to have my twin power poles on this boat. It goes back to 2019 when I had my Basscat working for me even in big water in the middle of Lake Huron, and I learned so much about how twin power poles can help me perform for overall boat control in so many scenarios. So I can't wait to share that video with you in the future. One thing that you're going to want to do when you set your boat up here is get yourself a cable jacket. This is a little neoprene cable jacket to go around everything, keeps everything tidy, keeps this from becoming abrasive on your expensive graphs up there for when you're stowing and deploying your trolling motor. So okay, so that's the front portion of this boat. It was very easy to rig. Everything is super accessible on this boat. That's one thing I've really come to appreciate about Yar-Crafts is when it comes time for me to do my own personal touches to the boat, the rigging is incredible. Let's move back a little bit here. Typically I'm standing on this compartment right here, which is what we call a day box, a day use box. So this is what they put here so that I can put a couple bags of plastics, maybe some jig heads, whatever I might intend on using throughout the day. But they call it a day box for a reason. I mean, I don't keep things in here permanently. It's not the driest box in the world. If you're power washing or it rains bad or something like that, it will get some moisture in it. But it does allow me to have all my go-tos there at my fingertips for the day at hand. So again, this is where I like to spend most of my time. It's an exceptionally good layout. If you are a person that really likes to do most of your fishing on point up here now instead of in the back of the boat, you should really take this 219 into consideration. When they revised this boat, they actually brought this front deck up about 3 inches. So now you just have a higher, wider fishing platform here, fully covered in sea deck from bow to stern. It's just a great, comfortable fishing platform that casters like me really appreciate. As far as storage goes up here, let me turn on the lights here, because every box has LED lighting inside. I do keep a waterproof bag here for stuff because, I mean, moisture can work its way in. If I open this up in a rainstorm or something like that, yeah, stuff can get in. They make their boxes finished, but they're not carpeted. So if water does work its way in here, it will find its way out through the drains, and everything stays nice and dry and doesn't keep the carpet soaked for pretty much every compartment in this boat. And that's a really great thing to have. All right, so then we come back here. We've got 2 identical compartments right here, but one is a gigantic insulated cooler, and this will actually hold 40 pounds of ice, a full case of water, and all your goodies for the day, no problem. And it'll keep it well into the hot weather months like we're about to experience. Over here is my wet box. This was actually designed to have a 19-quart Engel bait cooler integrated into here with available power slot here, so you can keep your aerator running all day long. And right now I'm not planning on using any chubs, so I just keep a little extra cooler here for our odds and ends and anything else that I don't mind getting wet, because there is no lip to prevent moisture going in here, but it is fully drained so that if water spills out of your Engel, it's not just pooling up at the bottom of that compartment. All right, so let's work our way back because there's a lot more to take a look at. The rod storage, the center rod storage here, it's actually a 4-tiered system. So as you can see on the bottom, it's got kind of an open shelf, followed up by 2 rows of tubes. And then on the very top, it actually has kind of a half tube system, but it just creates a very easy workflow that I can cram 20, 30 rods in at a time. I'll tell you what though, putting these little neoprene reel covers on your rods is a great thing for stacking a pile of rods on top of each other without damaging the spools or getting additional tangles. It keeps everything nice and tidy. None of these things in here are very cheap, and as far as I just want to protect them as much as possible. So with some additional protection measures that I've taken, I actually go to using a yoga mat right here. As you can see, I just kind of cut a little yoga mat there that has those antimicrobial properties in them that keeps the mildew from really building up if it gets wet. But I put those here just to give an extra layer of protection as stuff is bouncing around. As far as rod lengths go, 7 to 7.5 foot on the bottom, 9 foot on the top. This is actually a 9 foot 2-inch telescopic snare rod. Oh, sidetrack. I got to throw this in for JT. If you're a slip bobber and you're looking to up your game at all, seriously consider the 9.2 telescopic snare. It's a game changer for the slip bobber crowd and about 20 other different uses as well. Okay, back to the boat. That's not the only rod storage on the boat, but that is the main one. And it does a great job with the way it's designed. All right, so the second cooler on the boat is located midship here. It's actually a step cooler, but I don't use it for a cooler at all. This is kind of my secondary glove box or terminal tackle box, actually. I keep all my necessities that I might need throughout the day handy and very accessible right here. You're going to notice the high quality stainless components that they use for latches all throughout, whether it's a stainless slam latch like this, which is custom made for Yar-Craft, or the Marinetown compression latches that they have right here. They're really awesome. So the main glove box is located right here. That's just a box that I can cram as much stuff as I can in there, like any other glove box. And then one thing people ask me about a lot is where I've mounted my forward-facing processing in this boat. So let me take some. All right. So one thing here, hand me that camera. Let me see if I can get a close-up in here. This is, if you can see there, I've got 2 active target processors set up right here that come from a bus there, which wires down into a trace in the bottom corner right here that runs midship right to that battery compartment right there. And I have a dedicated electronics battery in that compartment that runs up here, right up through here, right to that bus that feeds those two processors. They then split off on a sheathed route up the port side gunnel that go all the way to the front of the boat. So the active target transducers and the graphs all go to one dedicated, here you go, they all go to one dedicated battery up there. I have both of those active targets mounted to switches right here to turn them on or off. I like them here because as I'm driving to my spot, you know, as I'm starting to set down, I can quick turn on one of my transducers, and by the time I make my first cast, about a minute has elapsed, or 40 seconds, or whatever it takes to power up that processor. That time has elapsed and it's already pinging, and I can start to see what I need to see. There's no waiting time. So I like to have it here just so that it's all set up and ready to go. Oh, one more thing for these compartments. Here, come down here and look at this, Jamie. All right, here's just a little tip. Underneath this flotation cushion, I kind of, you know, it goes even deeper because this was made to accommodate a 19-quart Engel down here. But I have my toolbox, you know, first aid kit, dude wipes, stuff like that down on the bottom. I then place the flotation cushion on here, which kind of sits at an upward angle. And then anything I stack on top of the flotation cushion allows it to have an upward facing attitude, which makes it easier to access. Let me show you what I mean on this other compartment right here. That's a lockable compartment, by the way. All these marine town latches are lockable. There you go. Look at that compartment. Here, let me have that camera once. So if you look in here, guys, you'll see what I mean. See how the tackle boxes are kind of sloped upwards? It just makes it easier to quick grab what I need at a moment's notice. And one other thing you're going to notice when I'm underneath here is just how clean all the rigging is. And that's kudos to Yar-Craft. There's so much going on this wiring backbone from the back battery to up here. And they did a fantastic job of just keeping it clean and organized. I mean, even with all the extra power cords and Ethernet cables and everything going to everything that powers up this dash, it's a very clean, organized, and well thought out run of cables. So they did a great job in there. I will say that the other benefit to having the flotation cushions right here is if you ever need to lay on your back and get underneath here and access them, I highly suggest you put that cushion underneath this door. That prevents you from having to disconnect this cable, and it just gives some relief to that cable when you're laying on it to get underneath there and do some work on the boat if you need to. So those are the two huge console storage compartments that I like to have here. And now let me take you to the command center of the boat, which also consists of two 12-inch Lowrance lives, and it takes up a lot of real estate. As you can see, I have them shoved over to the right as much as possible. In fact, I only have like a finger width length here to really get that in between here and the windshield. And because of that skinny bit of room there, I just want to make sure that you guys invest in the heavy-duty gimbals like you see right here, just to prevent these from flexing at all. You really don't want them bouncing around and hitting the windshield and anything like that. So get yourself the extra heavy-duty gimbals just to make sure they do not move. And a high-quality aftermarket dash mount like this will work really well too. This is a fin gear mount here. They actually made this for the fiberglass faceplate of the 219 dash. There's two other manufacturers that have made it that way. I think Geigertech and Bass Boat Technologies also have dual mounts available so that you can kind of customize your layout just like this and have a nice solid 2-unit platform on your dash. You're probably looking at the steering wheel a little funny. This is the 6-sided high-performance steering wheel that they put on Bass Cats and Yar-Craft. I'm telling you, it looks a little goofy, but if you've ever been on big water before and you start getting into a rhythm and you just start feeling it, you find a corner or a part of the steering wheel you want to lock onto, and having these extra corners on this steering wheel really make a big difference. So here's my favorite part about what you see right here, and that's this zip weight controller. I keep that on the port side here so that while I'm driving, I can quick make my adjustments to my tabbing. If you haven't seen my other video on how an interceptor makes a boat behave and why I like having them on the boat, this makes the boat. Hands down. This boat has so much potential to do amazing things in big water in just about any direction, and it's thanks to a tabbing mechanism like this that I can make the boat do some crazy awesome things in a variety of really choppy situations. So I enjoy having those zip weights there. And that's pretty much, oh, here's one of the coolest things about the boat. How about integrated net storage that you see right here? This right here is the 24 by 27 Ego net with a 48-inch extendable handle. And this thing fits no problem in the integrated storage right here. So it keeps your net off the bottom of the boat, doesn't get stepped on, keeps it out of the way. But whether you're fishing off the front or the back of the boat, it's only a quick step away to grab it and access that net in a moment's notice. So that's pretty awesome too. All right, am I doing good on time, or we got to pick up the pace a little bit to hit my 15-minute mark?
Just a little bit.
All right. Well, back here, let's go over here, because this is the secondary rod storage area. They made them out of a bifold lockable door so that it can open even if you have an extra seat in this pedestal base right here. You can fit rods up to 11 foot in length in this side compartment here. I've got all my planer boards laid out on the bottom of the compartment here. I think I have 4 or 5 trolling rods in there right now. I'm using the 500 series trolling rods or trolling reels, and they fit there no problem. My lead core rods are using the 600 series reels, and they fit in there no problem. But I think as you start to get into the really high capacity, like salmon style rods or reels, I would either suggest getting some like aftermarket sea decking type material to lay in here for abrasion, just to give your reels a little bit of padding if they're that little bit bigger reel. But otherwise, it's an awesome compartment that keeps all my trolling stuff organized and out of the way. So on this side, it's just another storage compartment. It doesn't actually open up to be a rod locker. But I do have my transducer running out of that compartment, which sits nicely, connects to a Brew City pole that I have mounted right here. You'll see that I have an additional ram mount stabilizing this. That's if I really don't want to take it down if I'm going to run some really big water. But for a Brew City pole, you really don't need that mount there. That's just me being overly protective of all of my gear. But I do really enjoy having this on here. If you saw my video of how I utilize it for trolling applications last year, that's precisely the reason I have this on this side of the boat right here right now. So tool holders, port and starboard, to fit everything you need right there. I'm standing on my starting battery and electronics battery right here. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but underneath the rod locker is where the 3 trolling motor batteries sit too. There's just this easy access door, and you'll find my power pole charge and my 3 trolling motor batteries underneath that compartment right there. This one right here is a starting battery and a dedicated electronics battery. I have my dedicated electronics battery tied to a switch, which in the event that this one might go dead, which I haven't killed it yet in a day of fishing, but if it did go dead, I could immediately switch this over to draw power from my main starting battery, just so I could finish out the day on that. But my intent was to keep this isolated and feed my electronics a clean power source that didn't have anything else drawing from it. It works out pretty good. Last year I actually got by with using the 20-volt drill batteries, and I can show a video of how I set that up too, which was really nice, because then you can convert that into a portable system if you want as well. But yeah, that's how I have my electronics set up. And if you look here, you see nice full width in the cockpit area here. So if you're a hardcore troller or you're a guide or whatever, you can go 3 wide here, people-wise, when you're out trolling, and that's a really nice thing, but still have ample storage to fit all your crankbaits or whatever else you need in here in these huge compartments. So if you look here, I didn't actually organize this to show what it really can do, but if you have the 3700 series, the tall series boxes in here, you can stack those vertically, I think 5 wide, and have plenty of room to put additional 3700s on top of that. Here's a little tip for you as far as loading boats goes. This is an extremely heavy compartment. Pretty much every glide bait I own is in this compartment right now. And I encourage you guys, if you're trying to optimize how your deep V boat runs in bigger water, you're gonna wanna make your starboard side of the boat outweigh your port side of the boat. That's why you see a lot of guys putting their kicker engines on the starboard side, just to act as a counterweight to help with that prop torque as you're coming off a wave. You know, every deep V, it doesn't have to be just Yar-Craft, but every deep V naturally wants to roll to port. And so having all your heaviest gear from front to back on the starboard side is a good thing. You don't want to overdo it you know, especially if you're a heavier person and then at rest, maybe your boat doesn't sit the way you want it to sit, but you get the idea. Put your heavier stuff on the starboard side. All right, so now we've got our giant live well. It opens up. So it does have a spray bar to help break surface tension when this fills up all the way. It has 2 pump ends with recirculating capabilities. And another good thing is the recirc actually has an inline filter, which is tucked away back here in the bilge. Easy to access. You just pop this open, unscrew the inline filter. If you find yourself among some fish that are puking up smelt or alewives or something like that. But it does help keep the system running clean, and it helps keep that spray bar running clean at all times. All right, and like I said before, I chose to run twins this year because back when I was running my bass boat in 2019, I could not get over the level of control I had in some pretty challenging conditions by having dual power poles back there. And I can't wait to show you the video in a real world scenario where I actually show just how important it might be for you to consider those as well if you're going to be rigging on a new boat. And then for this year, Yamaha has released an updated 300 horsepower 4-stroke that I'm running this year. The styling is new on the cowling, but the lower unit also has a couple of new features as well, including a rerouted exhaust port, which is further up on the lower unit. So when you're in reverse at lower RPMs, the prop isn't slipping on its own exhaust bubbles as it's coming through the hub there. So they rerouted that, and that's a nice thing, especially if you're just finding yourself in an area where you want to just do a little light back trolling and have some good grip with your prop. So I appreciate their support, and I appreciate the support of everybody that has helped put this dream rig together. You know, from front to back. I've got, you know, when I was sitting in this seat here, I even failed to mention I'm sitting on top of this Smooth Move seat pedestal base. I'm running the Ultras this year. For the last 12 years, every time I've screwed up on a wave and bottomed out and regretted my timing on a certain wave sets, Smooth Moves has been there to absorb that impact and get me out of that jam. And I really appreciate their support too. What an amazing boat. It's an amazing boat for big water. I wish I could give you all a test ride, especially to show you the capabilities this boat has with the proper tapping mechanism on it. And it's just an incredible boat. I'm so proud and happy to be running this again this year, and I hope it's a serious consideration as you start doing your homework for your next big water boat purchase as well. Thanks for joining me on this walkthrough, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll be talking to you soon. See ya.